So here I have a NextJS post API that's expecting some data from the body and then using Prisma to set the data into the database and then returning the body. So if we check it out in the API, we can pass name. Let's send this. We get the body, and then if we check the database, we have the data. Now this is fine. The problem is, what if someone sends an integer like 1 in their email? It will cause a server error because email is supposed to be a string, but we are sending an integer. So the way you can fix this is go to your API and you can say if type of body dot email is not equals to string, it will return next response dot json and we'll send an error that says email has to be string, and then on the status we'll say 400. Now let's try again. Now this time you see a proper error message and the status is 400 instead of 500. Now this works fine, but what if instead of email someone sends your name as an integer and gives like a proper email test. Let's try again. Same as before, we'll get a 500 because the name has to be a string. So you can copy paste this and do the same for name. Now you can see how this starts to get very ineffective because right now we only have 2, but what if we also wanted age, which is supposed to be a number, right? And then let's say gender. For writing this kind of conditions for each case is very difficult and hard to maintain. That's why I use this library called Zod, which does all this validation stuff for you. So let's see how we can use this to validate our API inputs. Let's go to installation. We are using pnpn. Once you have it installed, we can go to our code base. Let's import this. And now we can write our validation schema. So let's create one for this API. Const user create schema. And in the body we are accepting an object, so you can say z dot object, and inside the object we have a name and an email. So we'll have name z, it has to be a string, and for email it has to be a z dot string. Now you can also add some extra validations like making it email, so it will verify if the inputs coming in is a valid email or not. Now we don't need all this. Let's remove the console as well. So we'll say user create schema dot parse and pass the data. Let's console this first to see what the response is, and we don't need this too. Save, run the API again. We'll get the same response, but in the console you can see how Zod returns the validation error, like expecting a string but received a number. So we can use this to validate our API. Let's remove the console. We'll set this into a variable called data. Let's remove this, and now instead of using body we'll just say data dot name data dot email. So if the So now when your input is in correct format, it will save this into this data and you will get all the type safety stuff. But if it's false, it will throw an error. So and we can catch that using a try catch. So we'll put everything into this try. In the catch we can check if error is instance of Zod error, then we'll return next response dot JSON. In the error we'll just say error dot message, and the status will be 400. And if it's not a Zod error, then we can say return same as this, but we probably don't have an error message, so we'll just say something went wrong, and the status will be 500. Alright, so everything looks good. Let's try it again. Let's give a name, Arif Hussain, give it a proper email, give Arif Hussain at gmail.com, send. We get a 200, but let's say it's not an email and just a regular string, send. We get an error that says invalid string. Okay, it's turning into an array, right? So maybe instead of alright, I see. The problem is the error message is stringified. So what we need to do is, let's parse this JSON dot parse error dot message. And now we can just say, instead of error dot message, we'll just say message 0, and now we can return this, save. Let's try this time. Now we can see we have a proper error response. You can leave it like this, or if you want just a message, you can just say dot message. Then maybe let's rename this, make it errors, save. Or you know what, let's rename this to Zod errors. Try again, and now you only get the message. And yeah, that's how you can use Zod to validate your APIs. They have a bunch of other validation options: string, number, integer, boolean, date, and many other common validation options. And if you have any questions, please feel free to leave it in the comments, join our Discord group, and yeah, I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.